Before I begin, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Chakwadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are teaching 100% truth of the Holy Scriptures. Shalom to the elect, and shalom to the brothers that are pushing the word of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai in truth and sincerity. And this lesson is going to be entitled M0Tb equals slavery. And the inspiration comes from this video here, right, where it's going into like a timeline of currency, right? And that's why I entitled it slavery, because it starts from slavery and it ends in slavery, as far as you taking the M0Tb, because that's where everything is headed to, is a society where every single thing is monitored and tracked. That's why you having all the infrastructure of all this AI being set up, and with that comes the blockchain, right? It's every single cent or whatever they're gonna be used. They're gonna keep track of, right? And here let's get this on the road.
It starts with this, the mark of the slaves. Okay. It was the first reserve currency ever known to man. Thaler coin from the Roman Empires, Spanish silver dollar from the Spanish monarchy. Right. It's a bridge. There's still a few things missing, but for the most part, the most important: U.S. dollar and Federal Reserve, credit card, contactless, which is very interesting because this piece was made in 2000.
Yeah, and from here to here was a very big jump, right? Credit card, because that's when it started to go, digital, you could say, right?
2014. Contactless, which is very interesting because this piece was made in 2014. It existed, the technology, but we didn't use it to pay as we use it now.
Right, and that's insider information to whomever had made this whatever this is, it's under like art or something. Let me see here. Yeah, art. The wall art gallery, $1 million shredded. So I guess there's $1 million in there.
A bit of a future that it's either chipped or barcode. Mm-hmm. But then he ends with the mark of the slaves again, because one of the things that he puts here on the shredded is that experts say that in less than 10 years we're phasing out of paper currency. We're not.
And that is true, right? Because Canada has been done away with the penny, and as far as this 2025, this is the last. They minted the last penny earlier this year, so there's not going to be no 2026 pennies, right? So he said,
we're phasing out of paper currency.
Right, we're phasing out of paper currency, and that's where the M0Tb comes into play, right? First is going to be, UBI, your whole biometrics, right? And that in case that's not the M0Tb, the mark of the beast, like the whole palm reading. Amazon got the thing. That's not the mark, just to state that.
Not having any paper anymore. Everything's going to be digital,
right,
on the banks, and we're going to end up being slaves of some entity or some government or something.
Yeah. And that's for those that take it. Okay, and y'all can't see, but I chat GPT'd what was the mark of the slaves. It says the phrase mark of the slaves depends on very much on time period and context, because different societies mark slaves in different ways. Here are the main historical and biblical meanings people usually mean when they ask this. So in the Rome, it was branding, tattoos, or collars. Right, and that's where the word in the Roman Empire, the Latin word stigma referred to these marks. That this is important because later religious language borrows that imagery. And from the biblical Hebrew context, it gives us Exodus chapter 21 and verse 5. And I'm going to get that. Yeah, it's going a little slow today. So bear with me. You know what? Maybe I would just get it on my phone or something. Never mind. This is Exodus 21 and verse 5. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go free. Right? Because the children and the wife, if he gave it unto his slave, it belongs to the master. Right? But if your master treats you right, like he said, he's gonna do this, then his master shall bring him to the judges. Unto the judges he shall also bring him to the door, and unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. That's where the Apostle Har came up with the term the digital awl, right? Because he mentioned that it started with the whole slave thing,
With this, the mark of the slaves.
right? And then if you look
Being slaves of
closely,
some entity or some
right,
government. Being slaves of, end up being slaves of the banks. And we're going to end up being slaves of some entity or some government or something.
and that's what Esau Edom's, that's what his plans is to do, is to make you a forever slave unto him when you take the mark, right? And he shall serve him forever, right? So continuing in the chat GPT, um, spiritual and symbolic meaning in scripture, marks often symbolize allegiance or ownership, not always physical branding. But in this case, as far as the M0Tb, okay, it is a physical, right? I start at 13, Revelation 13, and 15, it says, and he had power to give unto, and, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? So we're seeing that now with this whole AI. That image of the beast is truly speaking, man. You got I'll be listening to the dude they call the painter, right? If you catch my drift, they then AI'd his speeches into English. He be like, what the fuck? That shit sounds so um relevant. It's the times that was back then is like it is now, right? Because he was on to something, even though he is a controlled opposition, right? It says, and that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? Those that ain't going to bow down to the beast, to the system, that is not down with transhumanism, that's not down with, blaspheming of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? And that's where this picture comes into play, right? The dude, and I was kind of going through a couple of the comments, and look like this. Zoom into the last image, Revelation 13, 16, and 17, and he calls it all what we just read, right? And you go into this, Lord willing, I'll make this the the thumbnail, right? It got the Neuralink and it got the C hip. And like the dude said, this is the symbol of slaves, and all it's missing for the dollar sign is an extra one. So the dollar sign and the slave sign is just missing, like you said, another nail. All right, and you go here, look, M0Tb. This guy pointed this out again. So it says micro something AI. Can't figure it out. I tried looking earlier, but it's just too grainy. Urban slaves to this demonic government who created this art. We'll find out Monday. Bitcoin, absolutely not. Mark of the beast do not fall, right? And people have, a idea of what this is, but it's ultimately Yahweh Shem Shah that's gonna put the spirit upon you, not to take it, right? Verse 17, Revelation 13 and 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And that is a very important thing because it's all of economics, right? The buying of the selling. And we're going to get more into this when it goes into here, right? It says key takeaways. It says across history, the mark of slave, because I asked what is, the mark of slave, um, always signified ownership and allegiance, whether physical, symbolic, right? And we go to mark, right? Because we have to get into these words. That's how you get the understanding, man. That's why we have good teachers to guide us in the right way. Get into these words, man. Oh shit, mark. Mark here. Because it says mark, charagma, G5480. It says a stamp and an imprinted mark, a mark stamped on the forehead of the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist, right? So we understand that there's not just one Antichrist. There are, if you go against the Bible, you are considered anti-Mashiach, right? But it's a thing carved, a sculpture, graven work, an idolatrous image, right? So it's a physical thing. That's where these false Israelite camps, they push that false narrative, right? But amen, now they're starting to do damage control. Well, don't get it and this and that, right? But our teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, have been teaching us, right, since the beginning, man, and have held on strong. Recently, you had Apostle Tahar, upload. They did a compilation, right, and that was the first time that I had seen that dude, um, put the fucking potato chips. I just always heard what the dude was doing, right? And I mean, shit ain't funny, but god damn, man, Jake be like, what the fuck? And that's the first time I seen it. Oh, let me take another mark of the beast. I'm like, God, hey man, death to him, man. Truly, may Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I mean, I don't know if he's still alive or not, but hey man, Lord curse his ass. Fuck him. Let me see, going back into the chat GPT. Because like even chat knows the difference between the physical, you could say, and the godly one, right? It says biblically the contrast is strong. God's mark, protection, and belonging, which is Ezekiel chapter 9. 9 and 4. This is Ezekiel chapter 9 and 4, a different mark. It says, and Yahweh Shai said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. Again, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. And say a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all of the abominations done in the midst thereof. And that word for mark is, oh shit, I forgot it. Let's get it. Mark of exemption. Just don't know what the word is. Just slipping my mind. Thawa. There you go. Thawa. Mark as a sign of exemption from judgment goes into the protection, right? The you even there's is you know the this spiritual mark of Yahweh Shem El Shai. Okay, so now I asked because I didn't like the I had to just word it a different way. It says I asked, what does the first currency of man tie to the first question? It says when people talk about the first currency of man in connection with the mark of the slaves, they're usually pointing to one core idea. Coins before value was tracked through people, labor, and marks of ownership. It says here's how the two ideas tie together. The earliest currency wasn't money, it was labor. In the ancient world, wealth equals land plus herd plus people. Slaves were economic units. A person's productive capacity was the value being exchanged, right? Which the brother, the elder Rachaya Kwam had done a badass video going into we are wage slaves. I'm like, God damn, bro, this shit it tagged it, it meshed beautifully, right? Because I had barely seen it. It was on my watch later, and I finally got the chance to watch it. Right, and it was a very edifying video. It's on the post, the community page, right? Which when I was reading through this, I thought about this Genesis 47 and 18, right? Because in that video, the brother was going into how, you have DEI, and then you have also, the it's a stranglehold on this economy, right? And Esau, man, he's tightening the noose, so then everybody will eventually bend the knee to get the M0Tb, right? But this is back in ancient Egypt, right? This is Genesis chapter 47 and verse 18, when the year was ended, right? Because there was a bad famine, right? They had just sold their livestock. What the hell? 47 and 18, it says, when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, we will not hide it from my lord, how that our money is spent. My lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is aught left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our lands. Right, so they ain't got no more bread. They ain't got no more money. They don't have no more livestock. But guess what? They have their bodies and their lands. It says, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and die not, that the land be not desolate. Right? So the Heavenly Father had set this famine up, right? So these people go into captivity, right? So now the Heavenly Father, man, he's setting this up, this so-called white man, to put hell upon Jake, or upon the whole world, but mainly Jake, right? So, because that hour of temptation is upon us, you know, and it's going to test all people, those they call themselves Hebrew Israelites, those that only Yah Israelites, those that call themselves Christian, Muslim, whatever the fuck. That whole hour of temptation is gonna come upon the whole land, right? Going back to the Chat GPT, it says the earliest I read that it says so humans themselves functioned as currency. To manage that system, societies needed identification, ownership, proof, control, right? And Apostle Gabar always goes into the interview with Alex Jones and I forget the guy's name, right? But he was breaking it down. He said total control. Alex Jones said, right, and that's how they gonna do with this, right? The man said it, man. We gonna be, um, and you look at this guy, it's not none. It's mainly art and stuff, right? But now this right here, right, and it's spiritual that this is all shredded, because I didn't do a lesson on this some time ago, but here you go, right? It's this video here, cool song, right? But throughout the whole video, they're burning dollars, throwing away their little, got their sock money. You don't want to get jacked, so put the shit in your sock. But I'm gonna get to the part where they show they're burning not only the dollars, but also the credit cards too. There's a little part where they start throwing in their credit cards, and I made a lesson about this some time ago, because it's spiritual, check out there in the all white, but they're prisoners, right? Maybe here. I don't want to play it because last time I got copyrighted. Always go through pictures, but and it's here the name is Ooh La La, Run Them Jewels. Killer Mike, he's cool, but he's a little bugged out. It looked like he was burning. Okay, yeah, I ain't gonna look for it. Just you know, look at the video, and then they're burning all type of currency, their Visa cards, their debit cards, right? Because even this, it went from
On the shredded, it said barcode. Mm-hmm. And then a bit of existed the technology. This was made in 2014. It existed the technology, but we didn't use credit card.
right the credit cards, and then from the credit card, and then what? Because this thing is about engineering your mind. They would always say, "You got the chip. You got the chip. Insert your chip. Insert your chip." Right. So, and that leads us to the actual Karagma shit. We should select it. We gotta get that. Oh shit! Revelation. Because yeah, let me see. All right. There was a point that I wanted to get. Oh yeah, in the word receive, right? Because here it goes into the Greek, right? Stigma. Yeah, we gotta get that too. But before, let me see. To cause. Let me see. Cause. Goes to a point ordained to clear. Right, because it's a thing of you willfully getting it, right? And the cause of it is going to be that you won't be able to be in society, partake in, just the basic necessities. Going into the receiving, where's the number? Oh, G1325. Ditto me. one's accord to give one something to his advantage, right? Because the advantage is going to be, well, you're going to be able to live, right? You're going to be able to own nothing and be happy. Because that's the thing that they make it out to go to be is convenience, right? Let me see. Because once you take that chip, you're no longer the Lord's, right? You have signed your allegiance with the beast. Let me see. Seed, grain, idea, value. Oh, here it says, this way. Oh, yes. Stigma. Shit. This chai size stigma. Let me go to the word stigma. It says a mark pricked or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name of the stamp or the stamp of their master or commander branded or pricked. Slovakia. Commander branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to, right? So now those that receive the mark, those are going to be, you could say, mashed up with the goats on the left hand side. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods, right? And again, this goes to show you that it is a physical thing, like a mark incised or punched of recognition of ownership, figuratively scar of service, a mark, right? Because just how it was in, the Roman ages, you would get a brand, you belong to a certain lord. Let me see, going back to ChatGPT chapter 3 or verse 3, number 3, it says seed, grain, and idea of value. The first true mediums of exchange were grain, seed, livestock, right? Where it tells us that, those are true riches, right? You got the gold, you got livestock, and you got land. This is all share one thing: they reproduce. Humans are viewed the same way. More slaves equals more labor equals more wealth. Entire populations become renewable economic resources. The this connects directly to kernel seed language, increase and fruitfulness, counting people like crops. And that's what it is. It says a marked slave was economically speaking stored value. And that's all we are according to the brother's video going into wage slaves. Why Revelation uses slave mark language. This is where your first question really locks it in. When Revelation talks about a mark required to buy or sell, placed on hand or forehead, it says the language mirrors Roman slave branding. Okay, let me get this real fast. Because again, this is Rome all over again. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing which hath been, it is which shall be, and that which is done, it. But now we just got cell phones and laptops, right? And Wi-Fi and shit like that. The technology, the technology age. It says the language mirrors Roman slave branding, labor-based economies, and that's what it is. Again, go watch that video. All right, it's a very edifying video. It says ownership tied to economic participation, which goes into the M0Tb. This is, in other words, if you were marked, you could trade. If you weren't, you were excluded. It's not new, it's ancient slavery economics scaled up. The deeper symbolic link. So the connection is this concept. It gives us a chart, concept, and meaning. First currency, human labor life, mark of slaves, proof of ownership in that system, buying or selling, participation in controlled economy, mark, loss of autonomy, transfer of allegiance, right? So now you take that mark, you no longer belong to the Lord. You're now, in allegiance with Satan, right? That's why the Bible contrasts God's seal being without exploitation, the beast's mark economic ownership, and that's where it's all headed, right? Is the heavenly Yahweh, Edom, Esau, Edom. He's trying to be the Most High, right? Let me see. Let me get this real fast. This is St. John chapter 8. My burden is light. Maybe it's in the same chapter, maybe. But, 32. I thought it was 22. No. This is St. John chapter 8 and verse 31. It says, Then said Yahweh to those Jews which believed on him, If ye continue in my word, keyword continue, then ye are then are ye my disciples indeed, that ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Right? So I mean, we're free from the ways of this goddamn devil. He has freed us. Right? We're no longer a slave unto, these vain things of the world. Okay. Let me see. In one sentence, the first currency of men ties to the mark of the slaves, because early economies treated human beings as units of value, and marks were the mechanisms that turn people into tradable assets. This is if you want. Okay, and then it goes to that. Right. So yeah, that was it. It was I didn't have nothing written. It was just freestyling. Right. But this is where we're headed to. Right. Like the man said, from the beginning of just the slave mark, till we went all the way here, right? And then it's going to the you could say the Neuralink, because that's the most well-known brain chips, to the RFID microchip getting implanted in your hand, right? And this was, the dude said it made in like 2012 or 14.
Pay as we use it now.
Oh,
and
here.
then a bit of a future that it's either chipped. It existed, the technology, but we didn't use it to pay as we use it now. And then everything, because this piece was made in 2014.
2014. What the fuck? Alright, well, that was it, though. So we'll close out by giving all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Hakwadash, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Shalom.